It's the most wonderful time of the year, college football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th, pick your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free WagerTalk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season. Founded in 1957, the Gold Sheet is the country's longest-running sports betting newsletter. Each week, the Gold Sheet team delivers analysis on NFL and college football games, along with NBA and college basketball matchups. The Gold Sheet maintains in-depth point spread and results logs, giving sports bettors and enthusiasts the insights needed to maximize their wagers. For over 60 years, Gold Sheet readers have received key releases based on power rankings on all teams, and for the first time ever, you can now get these selections exclusively at goldsheet.com, wagertalk.com, and sportsmemo.com.
Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. Sitting in Teddy's seat is the awesome Steve Merrill. Teddy's, he's sick still. He slept all day yesterday. We didn't get a chance to talk, so I felt like I was on vacation. But he'll be okay. What's up, Steve? How are you, brother?
Yeah, I checked in with him this morning. He's sitting up, feeling a little bit better, doing some work. But told him take it easy, right? There's no need to add that stress level being on with you for 45 minutes, right? So we got to keep him as healthy as we can.
Yeah, I would consider myself his medicine, but that's okay. I understand.
His elixir.
So who are the guests today? Well, right at the top, we have a Steve Merrill as our guest.
Oh.
He's going to talk Lions and Broncos. Then we've got Skee, Hakeem Prophet. Whole lot of NBA. And, of course, every Wednesday, we end the show with Arthur DiCesare. Nice to see all the familiar names in the chat room. Please hit that like button for us. Steve, I went to the Leaf game last night. Was a fun night. Great game. 5-4 victory. What did you learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Well, I went to a college basketball game last night, Prez. I went to the William & Mary Old Dominion game. Been a season ticket holder for 21 years now, behind the visiting bench for every game. I've seen some bad basketball. I've seen some good basketball at times. They got good a couple years ago. They're one of only, you'll like this. So of the original teams since the 1940s when the NCAA tournament began, I think there's only like 5 still that have never made the NCAA tournament. Army, by the way, they actually made it in the 60s under Bobby Knight, but they turned it down to go to the NIT. It's a hell of a trivia question there. The Citadel, I think St. Francis of New York or PA, one of the St. Francis's, and Northwestern, although Northwestern just made it a couple years ago. And I think one of the St. Francis teams. So there might only be like 3 now. The Citadel, Army, and William & Mary, my alma mater, has not been a basketball power to say the least. They've come really close in recent years. This will not be one of those years. And the reason I'm bringing it up is I used it as my free play in the college basketball show yesterday, Old Dominion -8. William & Mary is now 0-9 against Division I teams. They lost by 15 last night, but they're also 0-9 against the spread. They had the worst point spread record in the nation out of like 300-plus teams. And it's, a bigger picture takeaway is you don't want to try to catch these falling knives. We talk about that in the financial world. We talk about it with slumping teams in sports. And the other takeaway we talk about with college football, the big underdogs, you don't want to just hope for those backdoor covers when they got bad offenses. They can't throw the ball. Same thing in college basketball. And I mentioned this on the free play on the college show yesterday on Twitter as well, is that when you're a bad offensive team and you're coming from behind, it's hard to catch up. And that's William & Mary's problem. They shoot like 38% from the field. They're extremely young. And another big picture takeaway, which you can translate to all of college basketball, William & Mary last year had 4 different shutdowns of 2+ games in which they missed due to COVID. Very young team. And these type of teams are getting crushed this year because everyone is back at all the other schools. Everyone got that extra year of eligibility. So it's a bad time to be a young, inexperienced team in college basketball. And then on top of that, they lost one of their best players coming back this year. He graduated early and he transferred to Minnesota as a grad transfer. So it's kind of a perfect storm of why they're 0-9 straight up in ATS. I'm using that just as a bigger picture example of how you have to look at college basketball this year. It's a very unique season, obviously, due to COVID last year. But teams that are struggling, like William & Mary, unfortunately, don't expect them just to flip a switch and fix their problems. It could be a really long and ugly season for several of these down teams.
Steve Merrill, everybody. Steve, I gotta ask you. So your team stinks and has sucked forever. How much do you pay for these season tickets?
They're not bad. I mean, it's actually gone up a little bit. They instituted a seat fee a couple years ago. But before that, you're talking about like, a $10 game ticket or whatever, so it's still like only a $15 or $20 ticket, even nowadays. And it's a great experience. The kids have gone there since they were little. My son was actually 2 weeks old when he went to his first game years ago. Never realized how loud the whistle and the buzzer were until you have a 2-week-old there. And no, it's a great experience. It's a great group of kids. And it's fun, Prez. Like, they've made the conference finals 3 or 4 times in the last decade and come one game short of making the NCAA Big Dance. So when they do eventually make it, it'll be pretty exciting, but it will not be this season. By the way, quickly, James Madison, Virginia, used the big game breakdown last night. Another Virginia in-state game here. Obviously, Virginia did not get it done. They lost outright to Madison. We talked about how Madison is leaving the CAA. They're barred from the postseason tournament. They have to get an at-large. What a huge win for the Dukes. And my other what did I learn is that Virginia just not that good this year. They're now 6-4 straight up. They lost by 3 last night, but they missed their first 13 three-point attempts. And they allowed James Madison to go on a 22-1 run, and they still only lost by 3. So be wary of the Cavaliers. That was kind of the litmus test for me last night. I wanted to see how they performed in that, and they did not show up as well as expected. So a little
Steve,
in-state Virginia basketball breakdown. And by the way, big game breakdown is going to be the Virginia Tech Cornell game. We're keeping it in-state again here in a little bit.
Okay, let's so just to summarize, and then I want to talk about a couple of things in the chat room. You are passing a losing team and a frustrating life as a fan onto your children.
Well, first of all,
no,
it's the only game in town. I don't feel like driving 45 minutes to Norfolk to watch a mediocre Old Dominion team. But no, they've been really good in recent. In fact, since my kids have been going, Prez they've been really good. They got one guy in the NBA from 2 years ago that just graduated before COVID. It's just this year's team is really bad. They've been competitive over the last decade. We're reverting back now, unfortunately, to what it was like 2-3 decades ago when I was younger.
Steve Merrill, Coast Real Estate writes, I'm sorry, your college sucks, Steve. So he agrees with me. Just so you know, I went to York University, and I think the football team had not won a game in like 9 years prior, like literally not won one single game. The thing is, I think, because I didn't give a shit then, and I don't give a shit now. One of our listeners, Aunt E, writes, Prez, how did the books know Calgary was going to lose to the Sharks? Steve, let's talk about this for one quick second, because it's a really interesting question. The short answer, and is betting is about spots. And this is the difference between a lot of the real great bettors out there and a lot of the amateur bettors who just, know their teams or know sport, but don't understand the spots. There are good spots to bet teams and bad spots to bet teams. That would have been a perfect example of a bad spot. I mean, many times in all sports, bad teams beat good teams. The question is why and when. And those are the things that the experts recognize on a regular basis. It's not that the books knew that Calgary would lose. It's that it was just a bad spot to bet Calgary. Steve, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, first of all, we talked that game with Brian Leonard yesterday. Calgary was, if I'm not mistaken, a $1.40 road favorite. So that means there's the books are saying there's a 57% chance. Say the true line's 130 in between 140, 120. 56.5% chance Calgary wins. 43.5% they don't. So Maybe that's what he means by how do the books know? Maybe he thought it should have been, 60, 70%, I assume. But the other thing too is that we talk about this all the time with both, financial markets and sports betting markets is recency bias, short-term outlook and whatnot. It's a one game, and anything can happen in one game. And as professional handicappers, you talk about those spots that we find and we locate. Even then, at our best, long term, we're hoping to be not even 60%. 60% would be a monster season, which means we're going to be wrong 4 out of 10 times or right 6 out of 10. And everyone lives and dies by single game results. Everyone goes crazy when a 5% play loses at WagerTalk.com, even though all the other plays are 3 and 4% plays. That's not triple the other plays. So that's the downside to this business. But once again, on shows like this, we've got to give out selections. We got to give out advice. College basketball show yesterday, we analyzed 3 games. I gave the free play on Old Dominion, and I had a best bet for my clients, which was on Villanova. That was the game we were all using as a 4% play. The Virginia play here, the Old Dominion game, those weren't games I was playing. They missed the cut. They were games I thought had an edge, 55, 54% edge, versus a 58 or 60% edge. So people have to step back and realize this is a long-term investment, and an individual game is just random noise in the overall picture of things.
Awesome stuff. Let's get into our first game. Detroit Lions. This is one of those games where, is this a good spot or a bad spot? I got to believe that this is a bad spot for Detroit. They just came off of an emotional win, a win that really just got the monkey off of their back. Nobody wants to have an winless season.
Right.
And then you've got Denver coming off of a really crappy win in a game that they really needed bad. This is, to me, a good spot to bet Denver and a bad spot to bet Detroit. With that said, I have a hard time laying on Denver at -7.5. This is a team that is struggling to score. And conversely, take 3 or 4 games out of the season, and Detroit has kept it real close in almost every game. I'm going to be passing on this game, Steve. I'm really curious how you're handicapping this.
Yeah, I like Denver in this spot. I do agree with you, Prez. The 7.5 is a little bit of a scary number. And I can hear my inner Teddy right now as we talk about this saying the Lions keep games close, So you're right about that. I will say maybe it's a really good teaser play. In fact, it is a very good teaser play for that reason. Of course, 6-point teasers allow you to move the line 6 points. What you want to do, as Prez, is cover those key numbers, mainly 3 and 7. So getting it from 7.5 down to 1.5 puts the Broncos now in a basic straight-up win situation against a Detroit team. As you mentioned, their only win came on the final play last week against Minnesota. Otherwise, they're still winless on the year. So I like them a lot as a teaser. Of course, the catch is that you got to find another game to tie it up with. There's some other on the boards. I'll get your thought on that here in a moment. There's some I think they're a little bit dangerous actually this week that people might get trapped into using as teasers. But either way, if you are playing this straight up, Denver would be the only way I would play it. I've actually posted this as my free play on my WagerTalk.com page. I do have 3 advanced NFL best bets, including a 5% side, what I think is the best side I've seen all season in the NFL. So this one just missed the cut, but I do like Denver. I posted it as my free play of the week at WagerTalk.com. -7.5, I would lay it, but I think a teaser is probably an even better option.
Well, let's do it. Let's finish this bet for our listeners. Look, the way I look at teasers, Steve, and Marco's really good at them, and he actually has a very different approach to me. Marco really likes to take dogs up. I almost never take dogs up. My attitude has always been if a team is going to lose by 3, they can lose by 11. I'm always looking to get as close to a pick 'em as I can. That's how I roll. And when you're looking at the board, right off the bat, you're looking at Seattle, Tennessee. And I think that's probably Tennessee, Steve, to me, it's at 9. So you're 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
right.
3. So what I would do there is I would likely take Tennessee, but I would make a 6.5 point teaser to get me under the number of 3 with Tennessee, and also brings your other bet down to 1. I'm thinking Tennessee is the right play to put in there myself. You have another game?
No, I agree with you. First of all, that Seattle game obviously is 7.5, so it fits that criteria, but that's a road favorite. And another thing I'll add is I'm always more comfortable with home favorites at 7.5 as opposed to those road favorites. Because I just feel like the road results are a little bit more random. And I believe we talked about that game yesterday. Seattle sandwiched in between their upset win over the Niners, and they're at the Rams next week. So, I mean, I know Houston is god awful, but that's a dangerous little spot for Seattle. So that's what I was saying as far as the teasers. That one might be one of those tricky spots. Tennessee, there are some 8.5s out there. It's kind of 8.5 at some spots, 9 at others. So 6-point teaser gets the Titans down to 2.5. By the way, they're coming off their bye week after back-to-back losses. Jacksonville off of 4 straight losses. So hard to imagine. I know Tennessee lost outright to Houston, but that was a different spot. They had won multiple games in a row. That was a flat spot. Houston had their bye week coming in, but then Tennessee lost to New England. So it looks like a good bounce back for Tennessee off the bye, off back-to-back losses. So a 6-pointer at 8.5 gets you to 2.5. And like you said, if you can only get 9, it's not the worst thing in the world using a 6.5 because that does get Denver down to 1, which is a pure straight up push situation at that point. So I would agree with you. I would bless the Tennessee Denver 2-team teaser.
There you go. Steve Merrill, everyone. And also New York Islanders won a game finally last night. I think they're going to be a bet on team moving forward. Guys, Steve, you got a promo code. Give it out quick. Then we're going to take a break and bring Skee into chat NBA.
Yeah, it's Hoops 179. We know college basketball last year started 25-7 the first 2 months. We're off to a great start again. In fact, NBA and college combined this year already 34-18. Another winner last night, that's 65%. We basically have won 2 out of every basketball plays, every 3 this season. And I'm giving everyone a buy one, get one special. Normally, college is 179, NBA is 179 for 30 days. You get them both for 179, 50% discount, but you have to have promo code HOOPS179, HOOPS 179, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Let's take a quick break, everyone. We're right back in 10 seconds.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, college football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th, pick your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free WagerTalk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season.
It's time for a little big game breakdown for Wednesday night, December the 8th. Going to look at a college basketball game, another in-state Virginia game here for Wednesday night in just a moment. Just a quick reminder, though, college hoops started 25-7 for me last year, the first 2 months at WagerTalk.com. Number 1 overall the last 2 years combined in college hoops. NBA's doing great this year as well, now 34-18. And right now I have a very special promo. You can get 1 month, buy one, get one free of college and pro basketball. Normally it's $179 for a month of college, $179 for a month of pros. You get a 50% discount and get them both for $179, but you have to have promo code HOOPS179, HOOPS 179. Hoops 179 gets my number 1 ranked basketball for half price for a full 30 days. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Let's look at a college basketball game for Wednesday night in the state of Virginia. It goes at 9 o'clock Eastern. Going to take a look at Virginia Tech minus 17 at home against Cornell. Now, there's a couple interesting things I want to point out in this game. First of all, Cornell, quietly, the best point spread team in the nation. Depending on which lines you look at, they're a perfect 7-0 against the spread this year. That, of course, does not include their recent 122-64 win over Keuka, K-E-U-K-A. We need Matt Josephs on to pronounce that one for me. But talk about a step up in class now, and I think that point spread run comes to an end tonight for a couple reasons. First of all, they're a little overvalued now after the 7-0 spread start. They are a good team, 7-1 straight up. Their only loss came in as 11 points at Penn State. They actually covered that game as a 15-point dog. little misleading, though. They allowed Penn State to shoot 49% from the field. They only shot 38. And Cornell's actually a very good offensive team this year, and they play fast. But that's the reason I like Virginia Tech tonight. Virginia Tech plays at one of the slowest half-court tempos in the country, in about the 340 range out of 350-plus teams. Cornell in the top 70 or so. So whenever I get a slow-down team that's the better team on both sides of the court, as Tech is, it's worth a look. Now, the line might seem high at 17 for a slow-down team, but Virginia Tech's actually had no trouble covering big numbers this year. In fact, they've been a double-digit favorite 5 times. The first 5 games of the season, they won a perfect 5-0 straight up and against the spread in all 5 of those games. And close, in fact, they were laying 19 or more in 4 of those 5. They covered every one of them. They have since gone just 1-3 straight up in ATS their last 4 games, but they've been a single-digit favorite or dog in all 4 of those. So this is a step down in class for Virginia Tech. It's a huge step up in class, obviously, for Cornell. We get the better team on both sides of the court with Tech, offense and defense, losing 3 of their last 4. They'll be extra focused, and we get the preferred slowdown style against a team that wants to play fast. So it checks all the boxes here. Virginia Tech minus 17 is worth a look tonight, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's your big game breakdown for some college hoops. And don't forget, once again, 30 days of college and pro basketball for half price. Hoops 179. We're 34-18, 65% this year. Hoops 179 gets it for half price, 179 for a full 30 days. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Back to you, Prez.
Okay, brother, let's go. Skee Profits joining us. Hakeem, how are you, bro? You have a big night?
I'm doing well. Yeah, yesterday was good in the NBA for me for sure. I went 3-0. And, since the first 2 weeks of NBA have been over, I'm trying to pull it up here now, but I've been doing pretty solid. I think it's 45-32. My last 70-something plays, I think that's 58.5%. So hopefully you can keep it going.
Nice. Excellent stuff. Let's get into your games. You want to talk Washington Wizards against the Pistons? -5 for Washington, and a team that's really just playing outstanding ball right now. 210, 211 is the total. Where are you going in this game?
Yeah, I picked the games that nobody wants to really talk about or probably even watch today. But in this one, it jumped off the page to me initially because Washington, they've lost 3 games in a row. And then now you have them as a road favorite by a couple of possessions. So, that catches my eye. When I look at teams in that situation in general that have lost 3 or more and road favorites, they're winning about 65 or more percent of their games back to 2013. So then, I look at this other side, and it's the Pistons. So, of course, they're going to be favorites because the Pistons, they're 0-9 straight up their last 9. 6 of their last 7 losses have come by more than 6 points. And in general, the past couple of years, I've just been following these teams that go on these bad losing streaks, like 5 or more losses. When it's early in the season, you got to take advantage and continue to fade those teams until the market catches up. So I looked at them before game number 35. They are 25-45. That's 35.7%. The past 2 years, that's a fade on Detroit. And that's 16-22, 42.1% this season. I like the Wizards, man. Detroit is just that bad. And Steve, you can tell me, I think you don't want to catch the falling knife when it's a winning streak, but when it's a losing streak, what is it called? What's the reverse? Because I want to continue to fade
catch
Detroit.
The falling knife. It's catch the falling knife. Detroit would be the epitome of catching a falling knife because it's 9 or 10 straight now, straight up. They have covered Skee about half of those. But once again, those were like double-digit dogs every time. So it's hard for me to disagree with this one. I know Teddy digs deep to try to find a counter-argument. I'm not that type of person, as you know. What I will say, Skee, though, do you agree? One of my favorite handicapping angles for decades has been to play these short road favorites. We talked about it with Brian Leonard yesterday with hockey. And baseball, he says he does. I don't think there's a lot of home court advantage. I think bad teams don't have much of a home court advantage in basketball, even though I think this is the one sport where there is a big home court advantage in general. Do you agree? Is this something you look for in general, just to try to take these shorter price disc? This game's in DC. It's probably 10, right? So now it's 5 instead of 10 in DC. Wizards off of 3 straight losses should be focused. Yet, is Detroit the type of team you would only look to play when the other team is in a real flat spot at 4-19? It's hard to make a case for them otherwise.
I've looked at it, and I want to say I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I looked at road favorites. And after I think it was they lost a couple of games, and they were in the mid 60% as far as winning straight up. And I've been backing some of them this year as far as when you get those short prices like -2 or -3. So I agree with everything that you said.
Skee Profits joining us. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Skee Orlando going into Sacramento. Real sexy game here. -6.5, -7, a total of 3 2s. Where are we going?
Yeah, another game that nobody really wants to watch tonight. When I looked at it this morning, it was 220 on the total. And, I agree with where the market is moved. I saw it get all the way up to 224, I think, and it's come back down to 222. So maybe some guys thinking that that's a little bit too high. But you have two teams here, last 5 game stats, both top 5 in pace. And neither team, defensive stats the last 5 games are kind of middle of the pack. But I don't really trust either of them defensively. And since Alvin Gentry took over Sacramento, he's the kind of coach who he wants his team to get up and down the court, take quick shots, get early good looks, and that's the way he likes to play. He's done it in New Orleans. We've seen the Sacramento team start to do it. And if I was going to play the total, it would be up and over. Now, from the side, I think the market is some of these games you can still find value, like when there's big rest advantages. But this is one where I think they take note. And Sacramento, like you never see them -7, but it's their second game in 7 nights. And, Orlando only has 1 day of rest. I would be looking towards the well-rested home team here. I think Sacramento could get it done. It's an ugly number. The bookmakers put it there because they want action on both sides. But as much rest as they have had, like you just saw the Lakers last night play a really good game when a lot of people don't like backing the Lakers. Lakers were in the same situation, second game in 7 nights. I think Sacramento has a good game tonight.
Yeah, one thing, Skee, I always talk about, we talked about it earlier, in college football, and you don't want to back these bad offensive teams as big dogs hoping for the backdoor cover, and then same thing in basketball, these bad offensive teams, and that would be the one thing, I guess, with the total that makes me a little nervous is that's, Orlando's 5-20 because they can't shoot the ball, one of the worst shooting teams in the league. Would you consider maybe a Sacramento team total over? I'm seeing 114.5 for them, 108 for the Magic, so if you lean Kings, kind of lean over, would that get you to the over 114.5 for Sacramento maybe instead?
I won't argue against it. I think Sacramento doesn't play great defense either. So in order to cover this game, like I said, the -7, I think they'll have to get over that 114. So yes, I would agree with you, Steve.
Awesome stuff. Skee Profit, everyone. Skee, what do you got to promote?
Well, I have a best bet for the NBA tonight, 4% play. And like I said, I've been doing pretty well lately. And hopefully you can keep it going. So you can grab my best bet at wt.buzz/HP. And I appreciate you guys for having me on. Good luck to you on your cars today.
Thanks, Keith.
Awesome stuff. Steve, one of our listeners, the Clay719 writes, Prez, thanks for the World War II Netflix doc suggestion. It was very good. I was looking for something just like this.
Cool.
Dude watched the entire thing in a
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I recommended that yesterday.
10 episodes or something? Weren't there like 10, you
said?
Yeah.
I recommended that yesterday, right?
I'll tell you what, though. We'd be a much better off country if everybody watches documentaries like that. It kills me how much ignorance we have about our history, and especially from the younger generation. So good for him. I'm looking forward actually to the maple syrup one. I have that on my radar. I do want to check that one out. I saw Brian Leonard mention that the show that he's seen it. He liked it as well.
Oh, he did mention that. Yeah, it was fascinating.
Yeah, I saw that later in the chat. Yeah.
I just started Tiger King season 2, and I mean, I know it's ridiculous because season 1 was an absurd waste of time, but
yeah,
the
exactly.
story
I watched one episode. I was done.
Dude, it was such a rich story. It just, and it's like I work out, right? Like, you know me, I work. So I have this shit on in the background.
Right.
What?
That's a good workout show, actually, right? Because you can miss a little bit here or there, and it doesn't destroy the plot or whatever. So that actually, I watched the first one last year during the shutdown because it was the #1 stream trending thing, and I was like, this is so ridiculous. Had this come out at any other time, in society, it would never even gotten any attention. But it was because it was the shutdown and the lockdown. It was like the perfect time ever for a TV show. And by the way, I can't get into Squid Games. I don't know if you're into that. I watched one episode of that. They like literally shot each other in the head like 30 times. It was like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. I was like, I don't need this. So I can't get into that one either.
No, I'm not doing the old squiddaroo, but most people are. Look, I the craziest thing about it is I talk about all these TV shows regularly, and I'm a book reader. Like, I read way more than I watch TV.
I wouldn't have pictured
Art
that.
DiCesare joining us. Art, you a book reader?
Sports book reader?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
the
so.
Sports book screens.
Too cool
seriously. I'm reading the sheets. That's all I read.
The sheets. That's right. The cards.
Art,
cards.
Lots to talk to you about. Thanks for joining us, brother. And right off the bat, I want to talk about parlays. Guys, we don't prepare any of these segments. Art has no idea the questions that we're asking him. What is the most common parlay? Is it a 2-teamer, a 3-teamer? And how excited do you get when people start making them at the counter?
Well, Prez, obviously anyone behind the counter would say we love parlays, we love teasers. That's why we put out parlay cards. That's why we put out teaser cards. We live for people to make those type of bets. I would say 2 and 3 teamers are very popular, but the old lotto ticket and the 8 and 10 teamers, those are very popular too. People love to put $5, $10 down on those 8 and 10 teamers because, like I said, they're lottery tickets. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you just by chance throw 8 games in that win, and you could throw a couple bucks down and win a couple grand. So those are very popular, but on obviously the smaller scale with a $5 or $10, $15, $20 bet. 2 and 3 teamers are the ones that are going to attract bigger action, a couple $1,000s. A big thing I've seen over the last couple of years is people just taking kind of, not heavy money line favorites, but minus 200, minus 300, minus 400. Try to combine a couple of those and get, a plus 150, a plus 160.
Yeah.
So those have become very popular over the last couple of years. People have been into doing that. But, the standard 3-team NFL parlay that's going to pay on the spread, 6-1. Definitely a lot of those you see on a Sunday.
Yeah, Art, it's funny. You stole my thoughts with that money line parlay. That is something that wasn't on my radar 10 years ago, and it does seem like those have gotten very popular. And what I joke with people is you're not changing the math still. You can take 4 big money line parlay, teams. But from a money management perspective, I've always poo-hooed parlays, but from a money management perspective, you hit it nailed right on the head. It's not a bad bet for that reason. Like if you are you're much better off money line parlaying them into like an even money prop as opposed to playing 1 to 20 on all those games, because one of them loses, you just get crushed. And same thing with the big parlays. The math doesn't change. There's still huge health advantage, but if you hit a 6 or 10 teamer for a teeny bit, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great risk to reward, which I do preach, and that is part of money management. But as far as a long-term investment strategy, yeah, you need to be playing these games straight up. And I know you guys love the 2 and 3 teamers. However, the sportsbooks do get a little nervous on those 10, 12, 15 teamers because they do risk a little to win a lot. I want to ask you real quick, though, before we change over to something else. Technically, a 2-team teaser is a parlay. And Prez and I talked about it earlier with the NFL. The one sport in which teasers work, of course, is the NFL. How worried do you all get about these numbers? Like, for example, that Tennessee game is sitting 8.5 at some books. It's sitting 9 at others. Are you all conscious when you have an 8.5 or a 9, which is a dead number, because of teaser liability, and maybe just kind of fill the viewers in on the listeners in on how you guys approach those games?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. The teasers in the NFL, that's another thing that has become so popular. I think people have realized these numbers are so tight, and if you can find ways to tease teams under a field goal, there's just a lot of advantage for the good players to find those. I think a lot of the times, because the teasers become so popular, the numbers kind of get built in with teasers in mind. So you even look at like a Kansas City this week, Kansas City sitting at 9.5. You can't take a 6-team teaser, 6-point teaser. You got to do 7. So you're going to have to pay the minus 140. Some books even are 150. It just depends where you're shopping. So yeah, I think the NFL lines have started to. Obviously, you're not going to do everything to build your number into worrying about teasers, but teasers become very popular. So we are conscious of where our line's at because we know a lot of these big favorites are going to get teased down. So we have to keep that in the back of our minds. There's no doubt about it.
All right, I want to stay on this parlay thing real quick. Guys, I just want to make mention because, you know, one of our listeners, words whipping, whatever. He mentioned 4-team parlays are the best. Yeah, that's definitely not correct. This is not a hard thing to work out, guys. It's straight freaking math.
Yeah,
the worst parlay you can make, is a 2-team parlay mathematically. You get 2.6 to 1. The true odds are 4 to 1. The best parlay you can make is a 3-team parlay. The true odds are 8 to 1. You get 6 to 1. The 3-team parlay is the closest parlay to true odds out of any numbered parlay. So if you people out there do want to make freaking parlays, it's the 3-teamer or nothing. Art, anything to add to that?
No, I just said it, Prez. You know, on Sundays, you see probably the most popular one, like I said, is those 3-teamers. There's a lot. Now, there's a lot of 2-teamers out there as well, but the 3-teamer, the 3-team point spread parlay where you're getting the 6 to 1, you see a ton of those. A ton of just 100 to win 600, get back 700. We see those all day. It's just probably, it's going to be the most popular one. I don't think there's any question about it. You hit it right on the head.
And Prez, real quick, as we close on the 2-team parlay, there are some times, as you guys know, in which a side and total might be somewhat correlated. Like we talked about that Sacramento-Orlando game tonight. Like if you think, you know, the Kings have to have a high-scoring game to win, or Orlando wants to slow it down to a half-court game, which they're not, but it's an example like that. In college basketball, where you have a fast team versus a slow team, a side total combination parlay sometimes does work, but even then, it's hard to overcome, as you said, Prez, that huge house advantage of almost double digits when you're only getting like 2.5 to 1 when it should be 4 to 1. And just to put that in perspective, a straight bet theoretically should be 10 to 10, and it's 10 to 11. You're getting skewed a teeny bit there. You can see how much more the parlays are skewing, and that's why that hedge is hard to overcome, even when you have a slight edge mathematically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Steve, you know, and just to jump in on that little 2-teamer, that side to total, those become very popular in the NFL for those standalone games. You know, Thursday games, Monday games, Sunday night games. People are just saying, well, I don't want to parlay with a hockey game or a college basketball game. So you see a ton of those side to total parlays in football games, especially in the NFL.
Art, what happened to the if bet? You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and
the reverse.
It's disappeared.
Yeah,
it has not been around since I've been in this business, and I've had some of the old school guys when I first started. They'd come in and ask, and I'd tell them we didn't have it, and they would just walk away and shake their head, and they were not happy when I would give them that answer. But yeah, since I've been in the business, it has not been around. It's gone away.
Yeah, and Prez, just to explain to our younger viewers, because most probably don't even know what it is, an if bet. And isn't it funny, Art, that with technology now that it's disappeared, when everything was manual 20, 30 years ago, we had it, and there was if bets and reverse bets. And I might even be getting this screwed up because I haven't seen them for decades. But an if bet was basically like a 2-team parlay where you only had action on the second game if the first one won. Basically, it's a parlay still, I guess, Prez, right? And a reverse bet was maybe
true odds.
If bets going both ways, right? Maybe it was a round robin if bet would be a reverse bet, I think. Like you had both teams active and the second leg would kick in. Yeah, by the way, real quick, Art, action points. I've always wondered why books don't bring those back. Remember those, Prez, where you could you got paid more if you won by so many points over the spread, but it's like basically betting commodities on margin where you could also lose by like 20 points more. I guess that answers the question, maybe why they're gone, but that was like betting on steroids, man. The action points one way or the other.
Those are like fire bets.
Has there been any rumblings of something like that coming back?
No, but I have heard of those. They're kind of like fire bets. If you start reaching a certain number, you start getting paid more and more.
2 or 3 to 1.
You and I both know.
You can lose 2 to 3 to 1 more as well. Yeah.
Sports books don't want to do that. You know that.
But if bets make if bets are the way to avoid playing parlays, it's really your only true odd parlay out there. Art,
That
look,
might
I
be
know
why they
we're
got
not
rid of
talking.
them, Prez. That might be why they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Art, we're not talking actionable info. We will, but I just got one more quick question because this stuff is fascinating to me. You know, all of a sudden I'm making team total bets. I bet Indy team total. It was 26.5. It went to 31. We're making prop bets. 10 years ago, this was barely happening. How big are these team totals, these half times, these quarter bets, the prop bets? What percentage on a Sunday would those bets be, and what would they have been, say, 10 years ago?
Prez, I'll say this. I think they're in their infancy. I think they're only going to grow.
Yeah.
10 years ago, they were probably non-existent at a lot of places. A lot of places didn't offer props. Like, on a Sunday, we have a prop sheet for every Sunday NFL game. Now, do we have 50 props for every game? No. But we're going to offer 10, 15. Team totals are very popular. The quarter bets, all that type of stuff. Like I said, I think we're in our infancy when it comes to this. I really think 10 years from now, 15 years from now, hopefully we're still talking about this on a Wednesday, and we're talking about how much this has grown because, and I've always said this, the younger generation is always the guys and girls who come in and want those props. I can't tell you how many times I'm in the sports book and I just hear, hey, you guys don't have props for this tonight or this. And, a lot of NBA, a lot of people want NBA props. Obviously, football is football, so that's always going to get a lot of action. But you just hear it every day in the sports book, and it's the younger generation, the newer bettors who are pushing that because in my mind, they're growing up. They're seeing it. It's all over Twitter. There's the internet. When I'm growing up, you don't have that. You can't fire up Twitter in the morning and be like, okay, yeah, Jason Tatum's got this, or Luka Doncic has this, or Patrick Mahomes has this. So I think 5, 10, 15 years from now, props are going to be a very big part of the market. Obviously, sides and totals will always be what they are. That will never change, but props are coming.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. Chris, my brother, please cut that segment, that parlay segment, and the if bet segment, and so we can send it to Art to tweet out because that was just awesome freaking stuff. Steve?
Yeah, I was going to say, to be honest, I thought the most telling thing, and I was like literally seeing a clip as you were talking, Art, was that talk about the teasers and how you guys maybe price that into some of the point spreads. I think that's really important information for people to realize because hard to say there's value with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but like you said, that line might have been 8.5. So you're getting a free point maybe with the Jaguars at plus 9.5. Now, granted, there's a 1% chance a game lands on 9. So that's why sports books can do that and should do that. But yeah, this is actionable info, Prez. We haven't gotten to maybe some game information yet, but I think this is more actionable than anything we talk about because people can use this week and week, month and month after, for the rest of their betting careers and understand how the process works on both sides of the counter. With that said, though, let's look at some actual NFL info. Or what are you seeing here for week? I guess it's week 14. We're getting in there. Which ways are the bets coming in early? I'll have my Fade the Public NFL video this weekend here on WagerTalk TV. You've seen any heavy one-sided action maybe that I need to know about so far in the NFL?
Absolutely, yeah. Week 14, crazy, right? We're already in December, a couple weeks from Christmas. It's the NFL flies. I'll say that. College football already being over, but just hop on the Thursday game. Steelers going to the Vikings, sitting at 3 right now when it was 3.5. We saw some buy on the Steelers. Steelers are always a popular team. People like to take the Steelers. They're a good dog. They're like 5-2 as a dog. Minnesota's 1-4 as a favorite. So kind of two teams going in different directions. Minnesota has some injury concerns, but always take money on the Steelers. So no surprise there. Thursday we have money on the Steelers. We'll need Minnesota right now. Ravens Browns, pretty interesting way to look ahead line is Ravens -1. It's now Browns -2.5. 2-1 ticket count on the Browns. So you've seen Brown money come in early. Cowboys, Washington, nothing crazy yet, but we've seen some good bets come in on Washington money line. I think people are looking, hey, Washington's playing well. Dallas is playing well too. This is a big divisional game. They're only 2 games back. So people aren't saying, hey, I'll take the 4, 4.5. We do have it sitting at 4. some Washington money line coming in, and 49er money coming in. 49ers at the Bengals. Bengals are just -1 right now. It was an opening look-ahead line of 2.5. So you've seen some 49er money come in early.
Art DiCesare joining us. Westgate Sportsbook Supervisor and an awesome follow at Art Dice 21. Arthur, we're pretty much up against the wall. Are you seeing anything for tonight in hockey or hoops?
Absolutely. A couple college basketball ones to throw out there. Michigan State money flooding in at Minnesota. Pretty good matchup in the Big Ten. Michigan State was -5.5. It's now 7.5, so Spartan money's come in. And then a kind of off-the-radar game, but a good West Coast game, Utah State at BYU. It was 8.5. It's now 6.5 BYU. So you've seen Utah State money come in. And the hockey game I'm going to throw out there, it is a small slate. We talked about these teams last week. You know, Colorado goes to the Rangers. It was -140. It's now -160. Rangers on a back-to-back. They don't have their goalie, but they played well without their goalie for a couple of games. You see Avalanche money coming in. People think the Rangers might slip up tonight, but the Rangers have been hot, man. They have not faltered.
Yeah.
They just haven't faltered. And you think they will at some point because they lose Igor. But, yeah, Colorado's moved that line 20 cents, -140 to -160.
Yeah, and Art, I'm going to wrap up the show. We got the daily presidential address coming, but, really at the beginning of the show, one of our listeners were asking about the Calgary-San Jose game, and we're talking about, finding the right spots to bet teams. I think the Rangers have won 9 in a row. I could be wrong. It could be 8 in a row. Whatever the case may be. This is a bad spot for the Rangers. They're coming back home. They played last night. They put up 8 goals, which means the well is a little dry. And Colorado is getting their goaltender back. So, I understand the number in this game. I can't play Colorado because I won't step in the way of that streak that the Rangers are on. But it makes sense to bet Colorado in this spot. And, none of these teams are rolling off 20-game win streaks in hockey. That shit just doesn't happen. Anyway, what do you got to promote?
As always, gentlemen, the Westgate. Come down, check me out. I'm always there to help anyone who needs help. Thursdays are great at the Westgate. We have reduced juice. That's -105. That's on no totals, but it's sides. NFL, you're going to get a lot of that. We don't have the bowl games up yet. You can get the Army-Navy game if you wanted it. But, you come in, you bet some sides, you get -105 instead of -110. That's just, a really nice offering. It comes out, midday on Thursdays. I'll get you set up with the app, whatever you need. You just come down, you ask for Arthur DiCesare. I'll be more than happy to help because, that's my job.
Outstanding segment. Art DiCesare, everybody. Let's go. Daily presidential address. Thanks, Art. Not a very big slate tonight, guys. But I got a couple of hockey bets for you and one a basketball bet as well. Really rolling in hockey right now. Man, it took me a while. Whew. I had such a bad month and a half to start the season, but now we're on a 8-2, 14-5 hockey run, and I really feel like I'm going to continue rolling for a little while now. I think I'm seeing it well. So make sure to play my hockey. I've got one client play up for tonight. As for the free bets, Vancouver Canucks, they're playing Boston tonight. This is the second game with Bruce Boudreau behind the bench. I'm high on this Vancouver team. I was all year, which is why I had a shitty start to the year. But I think this Vancouver team is a buy-on team moving forward. I also like Vegas tonight. They're playing Dallas. Their entire team is back from injury. I think we're going to see Vegas lay down a nice, fat, juicy, long winning streak. Take Vegas -145. And I like the Toronto Raptors in the NBA at -7. Steve Merrill co-hosted with me. Teddy's been sick the last 2 days. It was an incredible show. Skee Profits, Art DiCesare. Check it out. WagerTalk Today, our YouTube channel. Steve, I haven't decided what I'm eating yet. I'm taping the NFL presidential address right after this show. Likely be a Montreal smoked meat sandwich. Other than that,
Nice.
Take us home.
Yeah, I'm always excited to hear. I get extra hungry after you tell me what you're having for lunch. Those smoked meat sandwiches, you need to send me one. Thank you, everybody, for watching once again. Skee Profit, Arthur DiCesare at the Westgate in Las Vegas, Prez and myself, Steve Merrill. And be sure to check back tomorrow and every weekday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here for Wager Talk Today. And don't forget, it's archived 24/7, 365 days a year, right here on Wager Talk TV. Give the video a thumbs up, a like. Take 2 seconds, hit subscribe, hit the bell if you want instant alerts. Most importantly, leave us some comments below. Prez and I read each and every one of them, and we reply back. Like, subscribe, comment below, and check back tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Wager Talk TV. Best of luck tonight.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, college football bowl season, baby. And there are 42 bowl and playoff games to keep us entertained for almost 3.5 weeks. Starting with Toledo versus Middle Tennessee State and going through the national championship on Monday, January 10th, pick your favorite WagerTalk or Sports Memo handicapper and get every college football bowl game they release, including any 5% best bets normally priced at $35 for the low price of $149. As an added bonus, make sure to download the free WagerTalk College Football Bowl Guide by going to wt.buzz/rm. From everyone at WagerTalk and Sports Memo, good luck this college football bowl season.